So before we start, I think you must have heard about Micron. If you are following news since kind of last year, somebody recognizes Micron or why Micron was in news some time back? Any hands? So Micron is the only semiconductor company and the first one. Now there is a chain of other companies who are coming to India from a Make in India initiative perspective. If you are following the news, you would have heard that we'll be opening our ATM site in Sanand, Gujarat. That's why Micron was in news earlier. So I'm Rohit Sharma. I take care of the pre-sales, the solution architecting, the technical aspects of Micron for this part of the region, India as well as SAARC. I'll briefly give you a rundown on what all we'll be discussing today. A little bit about Micron. Most of the slides, initial 5, 7, 8 kind of slides, will quickly zip through, and then we'll discuss on the kind of products out of Micron portfolio that are actually beneficial for you, no matter what you are doing, and primarily important in today's world where you want everything to be done in real time, much faster, and the kind of scale that is increasing, and primarily in your industry, media entertainment. The brands that are there, Micron as well as Crucial. What is the difference? Why we created two brands? The innovations that we did in memory and storage that will help you in your designing the type of work that you are doing. The top technology trends as well as the innovations we'll keep on discussing throughout the presentations when we discuss the Micron portfolio that is there. Micron portfolio applies to the entire industry, entire gamut of industries, and primarily for media entertainment industry. I'll drill down on those specifics towards the later part of the presentation. So a brief glimpse about Micron, kind of $15.5 billion we clocked last year. From a industry perspective, R is a cyclical industry, and we keep on going through ups and downs. Last year, our revenue was 30 billion. So almost half, because of the ASPs were almost half for the industry. And now they are coming up back again, which again should be an indicator for you to decide all your purchases. Kind of 17 countries we are operating in. We are the only US-based company, fourth largest semiconductor company in the world. Kind of 44,000 team members worldwide. And out of that, 4,000 approx are there in India as well. We have a huge R&D team in split between Hyderabad, mostly there, and few in Bangalore as well. Then there are two brands that we had created, Crucial as well as Micron. Now, Crucial was, and primarily the difference between both the brands is only from the target market perspective. What are the usual requirements that particular customer has in that particular target segment, and what their expectation, how they design their system, what all their technical strengths are. Based on that, we have divided this. From a NAND perspective, the NAND that we make in our fab is the same. Goes into either a Crucial product or a Micron product. It's just the supply chain that is managed through both these brands. Rest, the product beneath is mostly the same. Now, Crucial brand is primarily for the consumer market. Whenever you are using your laptop, desktop, your devices in that, once you want to upgrade that to a more memory, more storage kind of requirement, you'll typically use a Crucial brand product. In the Micron side also, we have consumer product or what we call as client products. Those are typically offered to HP, Dell, Fujitsu of the world so that they can integrate those products within their laptops, desktops, workstation, and servers as well. So servers primarily is Micron brand, whether it is DRAM or SSD side. That again, because the kind of requirements of HP, Dells, they are masters in their field. They know how to tweak, and they have specific kind of requirements on where to put the screw, what torque they would require. That kind of customizations typically a consumer would never ask, and the kind of packaging and a single piece typically a consumer would require, which is why the Crucial brand. So in case you are going out for shopping for your laptop desktop from an ease of use perspective, and guides and other material, YouTube videos will have how you can change your own laptop SSD or DRAM or workstation or desktop SSD DRAM. All those are available out in the crucial side of the business. You can pick and choose that. But once you are designing your render farms or doing something from the very high-end workstation or server level perspective, typically you will be looking forward to the Micron brand. So from an innovation standpoint perspective, our company has been innovating since beginning. Kind of the journey started when we created the world's smallest 64K DRAM. And it is continuing since. I'll not take you through the entire innovations that we have done, but I'll highlight that once the industry starts to move from one kind of technology to another, that typically we introduced first. Like in 2018, we shipped the industry's first QLC NAND SSD. Initially, we'll launch it in the client side, then we'll move it to the enterprise class side so that we know how the market is behaving, how the technology and the product and the use case is there in that. And based on that, we will evolve it to the enterprise class side. Then later on, I'll cover most of these technologies in the later on slides as well. We have moved from 176 layer to 232 layer 3D NAND, 1 alpha RAM to 1 beta RAM. And all these technologies, they will benefit you immensely, and I'll keep on discussing this in the slide, although it may sound like what is the benefit that you are getting whenever we are upgrading any new technology. Once we are moving from a 176 layer 3D NAND to a 232 layer 3D NAND, what is the advantage or what's in it for me from your perspective? The SSD that we were creating earlier was with a 176 layer 3D NAND. Once we created with a 232 layer 3D NAND, the primary benefit we are able to give you is it is at a cheaper cost. In the same real estate, because real estate is pretty much costly in our side of the world, semiconductor industry, therein the more cost optimized solution we are able to give you out, the more adoption would be there, and we will be able to move from our usual stage to more economies of scale, which is why we typically move from one to another, like 176 layer to 232 layer to make it better, faster, cheaper. Similarly, once we move from DRAM to 1 alpha RAM to 1 beta RAM, that is why the kind of capacities you keep on seeing, they increase drastically. Once we compare our industry, SSD industry to hard disk drive industry, you'll see that there is a stark difference. Last year in this same presentation, when I was presenting here only, the usual capacities and the highest capacities at that particular level, 15 TB was the usual capacity customers were buying. This year we are talking about 30 terabyte capacities, and next year we will be talking about 60 terabyte capacity, and based on the trends, this is the usual story that will go on. All this is possible just because of this factor, that we are able to innovate and innovate pretty quickly. If you compare our innovation cycle or the change cycle compared to a server, for example, an HP or a Dell typically will have 3 to 5 year or more than that refresh cycle for a server. But we will keep on coming out with 6 months and maximum to a year. A newer kind of product with newer NAND, much better, faster, cheaper than the earlier version, which is why if you are talking to us, definitely within that 6 months, you will see the difference that is coming in the technology. And the kind of same capacities you were putting earlier, at much cheaper cost, you will be able to put that in later on time frames. Why that is important? Just to put into perspective, Avatar 1 took almost a petabyte, while the sequel to it took almost 18.5 petabytes. Now you need that kind of scale to put all that content that you create, and that content is your business primarily. We help you save all that content at a cheaper, more affordable rate. And media and entertainment industry is primarily a growth area for us. We are almost nowhere. Like kind of 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were just 3% of the industry. Now we are almost 9, 10% kind of the industry, and this is the growth market for us. For all other markets like cloud service providers, hyperscalers, enterprises, you can see that they are entirely on all-flash arrays. Unless they are doing something for archiving or a mundane kind of task where performance is not at all required, then only they go for a hard disk drive. Which is why the hard disk drive industry has been relegated to few capacities only. I mean, earlier hard disk drive industry was 15K RPM drive, 10K RPM drive, 7.2K RPM drive, the nearline kind of drives. the entire industry was there. 15K RPM drive, 10K RPM drive are practically dead within India itself as well. And now our focus is towards the market of 16, 18, 20 terabyte kind of hard disk drives. And I'll show you the kind of drives that we are offering to take that market as well in future. We might not have those many bits, but definitely wherever you require the highest kind of performance as well as the highest kind of density, in all those solutions we'll be able to help you out. All that is happening just because of this technology that we are innovating and continuously innovating. Next year, once I'll be there in this session, then I'll be able to talk about maybe 2xx layers, which will be close to 300 layers. That is why we'll be able to offer you much higher capacities, the 60 terabyte that I was earlier talking about. Similar to that kind of range, the industry would have moved. These are the entire product portfolio. I'll discuss most of the products later on as well, but just to highlight that in automotive industry, graphics industry, and networking industry as well, Micron is #1. Although we are 4th largest semiconductor company, but we are #1 in these fields primarily because reliability is of highest importance in these industries. Extreme performance, extreme reliability, these are the primary factors. The most robust solution you should have in these kind of industries. Like in nowhere else, there could be a fatal accident like it can happen in a car, which is why the kind of standards and the compliances that are there, ASIL D kind of compliance is meant not for other things, but even for simple micro SD card as well that goes in a car. May not be responsible for directly a failure, but anything that goes within, even in the entertainment module as well, that also should be of that particular kind of category, which is why we are #1 out there. We are not just price performance leaders or chasing these two parameters, reliability, quality, that is on top of our mind as well. Now this is the portfolio that I'll want to talk in greater details in this particular session. This applies to you much more than the other portfolio that we have within our company. On the left hand side, you can see that it is primarily the crucial DRAM. DDR4 has transitioned to DDR5, and within DDR5 as well, you can see the newer speed grades are coming up, 4800, and the recent one that we have launched is the 6000 speed grade. In the crucial internal SSD side as well, we had Gen 3 NVMe SSDs, then came Gen 4 NVMe SSDs, and now recently we have launched Gen 5 NVMe SSDs as well. And you might think that why should I go from a Gen 3 NVMe SSD to Gen 4 or to a Gen 5, although they are backward compatible. Even if you are putting a Gen 5 NVMe SSD in an older motherboard which is only supporting a Gen 3 NVMe SSD, for example, so even that will work, and that will work to the maximum level possible. For example, maybe the Gen 3 earlier drive was giving you kind of 3000 megabytes per second, although the maximum possible in that particular, because of the other bottlenecks within the system, was 3300 megabytes per second. So a Gen 5 NVMe SSD will go up to that level. Although once we move from Gen 3 NVMe to Gen 4 NVMe, the performance doubles. So 3000 should become 6000 megabytes per second. And the highest performing, like the T700, T500 kind of drives, they will go almost up to 7000 megabytes per second. They are still Gen 4 NVMe SSDs. Then once we move to Gen 5 NVMe SSDs, again, the theoretical is 14 gigabytes per second, and our drives almost go up to 12 gigabytes per second, although we launched last year itself as well, which is why a huge bump once you moved from Gen 3 to Gen 4 to Gen 5. And ideally, once you are upgrading, that's a sincere recommendation from our side to take the highest level possible, so that whenever you change your motherboard, you can still retrofit that particular drive from that motherboard to a newer motherboard as well, and it will work fine. It will give you the highest performance at that particular slot level. Then moving on to the crucial external SSDs, this definitely will apply to all the attendees out here. X6, X8, X9 Pro as well as X10 Pro. X10 Pro as well as X9 Pro have been recently launched. X6, X8 were the earlier categories that were there. I'll be discussing these towards the end as well. But these are the external SSDs that you can use with any of your device, whether you are working on Windows, Linux, Mac, any sort of device, even from a gaming standpoint perspective as well. A lot of gamers also use them because they also need the highest kind of performance. A PS5 typically would die down after 5-7 games once you have downloaded, which is why from an internal SSD perspective, we launched our T500, a Gen 4 NVMe SSD, highest performing, primarily for a customer who needs the highest kind of Gen 4 NVMe SSD, a PS5 upgrade or similar content creators. Similar to that, for that use case only, if you want an external SSD, you can use X9 Pro, and if you want highest performance, then X10 Pro you will be able to use. Once you are creating your rendering farm in all that kind of or any other server you are designing, then you can use our NVMe SSDs or SATA SSDs. There is a huge list that we have created from an NVMe SSD standpoint perspective, and primarily it depends upon how much performance you want and how much from a value perspective, how much cost you are able to spend for that particular architecture. 9400, it goes up to 30 terabyte capacity, highest performance. If you want to consolidate a lot of workload onto same single drive, 9400 is the drive to go. We earlier had 7450, which was our flagship drive. Maximum customers were using our 7450 earlier, which was 176-layer 3D NAND. We just upgraded it to 232-layer 3D NAND, and we came out with 7500 series SSD. Usual best of the world, both of the world kind of drive, whether you want value or you want performance. Then there is 6500 SSD. This is the SSD that we primarily launched so that we can counter very high capacity hard disk drives. Kind of, if you are thinking about 16, 18, 20, 22 TB kind of hard disk drive, then to create a solution, and at a solution level, our overall TCO would be lower. Maybe at a $1 per gigabyte level, still we are not able to counter the hard disk drive. But in a few years, we'll be able to reach that stage as well. Even at this point in time, why so many customers, like if you'll see any telco who has created their 4G infrastructure in the country, they are using all SSDs. And earlier, most of them had a lot of hard disk drives in their infrastructure. They moved to entire SSDs, all the major telco players in India, just because we were able to give an overall solution which is at a lower TCO than a hard disk drive based kind of solution. So 6500 for that kind of dense as well as cheaper solution creation. XTR, a unique drive in case you want caching to happen, in case you have lower kind of performing drive beneath lower performing tier, and you still want to create a caching tier, 960 GB, 1.92 TB kind of small capacities, but very high performance. That you can use XTR, short for an accelerator. Then these are all NVMe SSDs, but still if your motherboard still supports SATA SSD, still we have a solution for you. And I'll discuss SATA SSDs later on in the session as well. And from a DRAM standpoint as well, DDR4, the market is transitioning towards DDR5. Within mid of this year, you'll see that the entire market will transition and the crossover would happen. More bits would be sent to DDR5 from our semiconductor industry perspective than to DDR4. That change will happen. But again, because DDR4 is an older technology, we'll keep continuing it for a long time as well. There are so many requirements still for DDR4 as well. Now, the earlier point that I was talking about, SATA SSD, this is only the view from Micron side. Most of the semiconductor industry doesn't agree with this, which is why you will only hear this from Micron. That SATA is also going to be there in market for long. Most of the product managers, analysts, and the entire industry thought that the tail of SATA will be very short. It'll die pretty quickly, the way people estimated for tape as well. Tape is still living, although dying down, but the death is procrastinated a lot. Similar, SATA, initially our view was same to the industry as well, but now we are thinking that SATA will continue for a long time because of primarily few factors that I'll tell you. The overall solution, once you are designing your server, still is cheaper on SATA, primarily because of the fact that once you move to an NVMe backend on a server and the cost rises, still you will need a RAID card, which is at a much more costlier fashion than compared to a SATA usual RAID card that you use. So an NVMe RAIDing would be adding a lot of cost to your solution as well, which is why a lot of customers still are using SATA SSDs. And we feel that for that particular kind of market, as well as the boot market. Boot market suits entirely to SATA. Smaller capacities, you can have M.2 form factor as well, so that in a server you have 24 slots to put in the drive. Either you can put an NVMe or a 2.5-inch SATA kind of drive. You utilize that entire server for those 24 slots for usual drives, whether it is SATA or NVMe. There are separate M.2 slots. Those slots you use for the boot drives. That M.2 will still continue, and that is why we see that a lot of market of SATA will continue. Once because of this boot market, secondly because of the overall solution of a SATA server is cheaper than the NVMe server. And NVMe any which ways is growing large. This graph primarily is a testament to whatever I was saying in the last slide. You can see that NVMe is growing by leaps and bounds, no doubt about it. Micron also is a leading player in NVMe, and we are gaining a huge market share in NVMe bits as well, which is why you can see there is a huge gap between the SATA SSDs, SAS SSDs, and the NVMe SSDs, both from TAM perspective, user exabytes, or whether you are seeing the number of units that are sold in the market. Now, what we expect is that SATA will continue, the tail will keep on continuing, because you can see that the market even from 24, 23, 25 to 27 to 27 almost exabytes, the market is slightly increasing. It's not decreasing, or at least it is maintaining the kind of bits that that were there earlier. And even at this rate, it is huge, kind of a 1 terabyte SSD. Generally for boot, you won't take that large capacity, but still 27 million units are staying built strong. So that is a stronger market, and it is a Micron commitment that we will keep making SATA SSDs till the time there is demand in the market. No other semiconductor player has that view, or is promising it to the customer. None has anything in the roadmap. We have come out with our 5400 SATA-based SSD, while our 5300 SATA-based SSD were earlier released, and most of the other players are almost dead at that, or they are reducing the kind of SKUs that were there. They are not coming out with M.2 form factors. They are reducing the capacities available. But from Micron standpoint perspective, we'll keep continuing in this market, which is why a separate viewpoint you will hear from our side than from the competition or the other semiconductor players that are there in the market. Now, why you should move from DDR4 to DDR5? There was a memory wall that was there, and whenever you are doing anything in your VFX or in your render farm, whenever you are seeing that you need much more faster processing, it may not happen primarily because of this factor that you are not able to give the data that needs to reach the processing unit, whether it is CPU or the GPU. Since they are far apart, ideally the data should be as close to possible to the processing unit, whether it is CPU or GPU, as possible. Then much more faster processing you will be able to see. That wall of DDR4, we were only able to break with DDR5. It is a revolutionary architecture. Earlier, DDR1 to DDR2, DDR2 to DDR3, DDR3 to DDR4, they were all evolutionary. Few increments only we did, not from Micron perspective, the entire semiconductor industry perspective. It wasn't a huge change. But while DDR4 and DDR5, the entire architecture is changed. We have twice the burst length, twice bank groups, twice the banks. There was only single individual channel that was there in the entire DRAM. Now we have split that into 2 channels. And even a single channel out of that is able to give you the same kind of bits that we are able to get in the entire DDR4 module earlier. That is why everything twice you are able to get in DDR5, which is why in case you are designing your solution, don't think about DDR4, at least go to the newer age solutions, Sapphire Rapids and later on, and move to DDR5. And therein you will have PCIe Gen 5 availability as well, which will allow you to attach CXL modules as well. I'll talk about those later on in the presentation. That will also help you expand your memory capacity pretty faster. I'll quickly go through. This is the entire architecture that we as in Micron from an innovation standpoint perspective typically impact the industry. The highest is the HBM3E. Whenever you are seeing any accelerator card, any GPU from the industry, in that solution, you would find that there will be an HBM3E from Micron. Then moving on to the next best level from a performance standpoint perspective, a little larger capacity than DDR5. If you want to expand much more capacity into DDR5, there are few slots only in a 2U server or in a desktop or laptop that you buy in. Maybe in a desktop you will have just 4 slots. In a server, 2U server, you will have just 24 kind of or maximum 32 kind of slots available. In that only you can put your DDR5. After that, if you want much more capacity, then the industry has created a consortium has formed which is called CXL, and that can allow you to expand much more capacity. 128 GB and 256 GB modules are already out there in the market. That can help you increase the memory, and it will be homogeneous to the CPU. CPU won't come to know whether it is accessing DDR5 or it is accessing CXL. Then there is the highest performing 9400, not much suitable for the media entertainment industry, but highest suitable is the 6500 that you should design in your solution when you are creating your end of farm or whenever you want the highest kind of density possible at equivalent cost to a hard disk drive, a higher capacity kind of hard disk drive. Why we are more suitable for that? Because a hard disk drive can keep on adding more and more capacity. They can go on from 16 to 18, 20 to 22 TB, but the performance won't increase. But out here, we keep on doubling the performance, like I was saying, Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5. We keep on doubling the performance. So even you are putting in much more capacity in small space, your performance is also doubling up, which is why in 2U you can have even a petabyte stored. Less space, less power, less cooling, all that benefits definitely accrue, and lighter solution as well, much less noisier as well. Mechanical challenges also are not there. This definitely should be more exciting to you from, you can relate to this product much more than the other kind of products because it can directly connect to your laptop, Macs, desktop, or any kind of Unix, Linux, Mac kind of devices, even gaming devices, PS5 kind of. X9 Pro and X10 Pro, highest kind of performance, 2100. And this is all possible because of the technologies that I was highlighting earlier. And it's just a palm size device, 65 mm by 50 mm, a pretty small device on which you can carry kind of 4 terabyte kind of capacity. Again, the specs of that particular product. And these are our tools. In case you want to upgrade your own laptop, desktop, workstation in your home, and you don't know what SSD and what DRAM can work in your device, you don't have to worry. We are the only ones that give you these kind of tools that you can see. Just go to Google, type Crucial System Scanner or Crucial Advisor, depending upon what you want to actually achieve. I'll differentiate between both these tools. The first tool is Crucial System Scanner. In case you have that particular laptop, like I want to upgrade this particular laptop only, I will go to this site, I will download that tool. It is just an exe, nothing gets installed. It just runs on your system, and once it runs, it will give you a report that, okay, your laptop or your desktop, it has 4 memory slots, 2 are populated, this is the memory you have. If you move from this to this is the kind of benefit you will get. What DRAM modules are compatible with your system, what SSDs are compatible with your system, entire details you'll get in black and white, supported by Micron, by Crucial from a brand perspective. And similar is the other tool, Crucial Advisor. The results will be the same, but only in case you are deciding for a system which you don't have. Like I know I have a HP a laptop and this ProBook model, this particular model number, I just know those 3 details. I can punch in into a database, Crucial Advisor tool, and I will get a similar report. The database is the same, only the way you execute is different. Like this exe, which we are running in Crucial System Scanner in your system, that is run in the cloud and the results are shown to you on our website. A simple tool to use, any novice person can use it. And how you would upgrade your laptop, desktop, or any other device as well, workstation, that videos are also there on the website. That also you'll be able to search through. Now, how Micron actually helps from an innovation standpoint perspective, and once you are designing your solution, you can get in touch with us, and we'll be able to help you with the latest technology that is coming out in the market, and that will help you create a cheapest kind of solution with while meeting all your demands, right from performance, reliability, scalability, everything put together. So any questions if you have? I'm stopping you from the lunch. That's why I want to quickly finish.